After weeks of negotiations, the English Cricket Board have confirmed this evening that the Men's Ashes Tour of Australia will go ahead. The ECB released a statement in the last hour saying that the players will tour on the basis that several critical conditions are met. Well, our senior sports news reporter, Laura Scott, joins us now. Laura, thanks for speaking to us. What else have they had to say in this statement?
Well, we know, Austin, that the players were updated on Sunday about the latest updates that they'd had from Cricket Australia and the Australian government. We then knew that the board of the ECB were meeting today. And as you say, they've released this statement in the last hour or so saying, over recent weeks, we've made excellent progress in moving forward with the England's Men's Ashes Tour. And to facilitate further progress and to allow a squad to be selected, the ECB board has met today and given its approval for the tour to go ahead. They say this decision is subject to several critical conditions being met before we travel. And they said they look forward to the ongoing assistance from Cricket Australia in resolving these matters in the coming days. So as far as we know it, the tour is going ahead. It will start in Brisbane on the 8th of December. But of course, it is subject to these critical conditions being met. And we're not entirely sure what those are. But it is interesting that they clearly have enough players that seem happy to go, that they are talking about a squad selection. But clearly they needed to give some sort of an update today on their position and their point of view from an ECB perspective.
Yeah, it sounds like there are still a few hoops to jump through before the players get on that plane for Australia. But you mentioned the players a little bit earlier on, Laura. We've heard the likes of Joe Root and a few others raise their concerns about going over to Australia. When are we likely to hear any more from them about that, if players are going to pull out?
Well, we're expecting a squad to be announced perhaps over the weekend, maybe early next week. But clearly, this ECB statement will give them a lot to think about. They now know that it's got the backing of the ECB board, and now they've got a decision to make. And we know that most of the players, were thinking about things like whether their families would be able to come and what the restrictions for them would be like, exactly what the quarantine situation would look like, and the bubble arrangements. We know a lot of these players have been playing in these bubble environments for much of the last 18 months. And clearly with the Ashes, it is this unique setup. They're playing in 5 different states, and Australia has some of the strictest COVID restrictions in the world. And of course, players would want to know, if there was a rise in community cases, what would the ramifications be? If there was a sudden local lockdown, what would that mean for them and their families? These are all things that the players wanted answers to, and clearly the ECB did as well. But we know that there are players who have spoken out about their doubts and uncertainties about whether they wanted to be part of this tour. Joss Buttler being one of them. He said back in August that he was open to saying no to going. We know Joe Root is not 100% nailed on, but he is expected to lead England in the Ashes Tour. And we will wait to find out in the coming days exactly who has signed up.
Yeah, lots more to come from this story, I'm sure. Laura Scott for us there. Thanks very much.